Okay, are we ready, Javier, now? Yeah.
Sí, Miss.
Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you all to the second day of our English Fest 2020. Today's event is called Breakfast Chatting, and my partner today is Jimena Prado. She's going to help us with the questions and comments after each lecture. The topic of this first presentation this morning is How can I study abroad? And our special guest today is Mrs. Ruth McBride Watson. Mrs. McBride
I'm
is the
here.
President Director of BNC Binational Center of La Serena, formerly known as Instituto Chileno Norteamericano. She is also a Regional Advisor of Education USA and the representative of Chilean BNCs of the Association of Binational Centers in Latin America. Ruth has been committed and dedicated to the teaching of English for more than 20 years as a teacher, academic director, and director of projects with different organizations. As she has been the Chilean representative in several international seminars in different countries, we're so glad she is here with us. In her role of Regional Advisor of Education of USA, Ruth has guided many students to fulfill their goals to study in the USA by providing administrative information regarding visas, grants, and international examinations. We are glad to have her with us, as I said before, as one of the lecturers invited to the English Fest 2020 to share with our students of the Teaching Training Program and students from the English-Spanish translation program who have also been invited to know about it. And Ruth, the floor is yours.
Thank you very, very much. Good morning to everybody. Now I switch. This is what's difficult for me because I love to see your faces. But anyway, thank you very, very much for the invitation. It's I think it's a great, fantastic idea to invest some time in thinking, dreaming of the possibility of widening horizons, of studying, of traveling. And I know I'm here and I have to talk about studying in the United States, but no matter where you go, no matter what country you visit, traveling is an education in itself. And if traveling is combined with studying, wow, it changes your life. So that I think this is, this makes you feel hope, makes you feel happy. Any investment in this kind of talk is really good. So I encourage you all, and really, teachers and students, you all have the possibility once this pandemic is over to continue with our life, being able to broaden our horizons and enrich our life. I did it when I was very young. I'm very old now, but I think when I was 17, the world was at my feet, and I was able to travel and I was able to study, and I think it's fantastic. Okay, but that's my personal side. So let's get on with the topic of my talk. Okay. I am the Education USA advisor in the Chilean North American Institute. Now, what is the Education USA? Just quickly, so that you know. Jimena, please. It's a global network. It's let's see. It's supported, financed by the Department of State, by the government of the United States, but its aim is to give impartial information. Information should not be charged for. Information should be free. And we're not agents. We're not paid by universities to give the information. We give the information free and up to date as possible, So we're open to advise and to give information that is impartial and precise about all the accredited educational institutions in the States. Okay, just some pictures that are very nostalgic for me. No, that's fine. That's fine. But I just look at them. I mean, universities are usually beautiful places in the States where there are gardens and where there are buildings and when there are fantastic libraries. I think libraries are so very important, and that's one of the reasons for studying in the States. Now, you say libraries are going to go away and all our information is online. It's true, but there's nothing like going into a fantastic library and smelling it. Books, thousands of books. And so much money has been put into archives of books in the libraries in the United States. So that's one thing that's very important. The quality of the resources, the quality of the buildings. Uh, I think another thing is what's on the here on the screen is the accreditation of the universities. Any information that we give you is from universities that are accredited. And there are over 4,000 universities that are accredited in the United States. There's not just one accredited board. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, where you see on the map, here on the map, you'll see that there are certain regions in the United States with accreditation boards, so that all the universities have to be at a certain level. Now, people know Harvard and Columbia and etc. and Stanford and MIT, etc. But there are thousands of others that are smaller, that have not as many resources, not as renowned, but they're excellent because they are accredited. Okay. Why is it important to study in the States? There's a real emphasis on research and the role of the university in production of new knowledge. That's the role of the university, eh? It's not just having classes and classes and classes. It's producing new information. And research is a real important part of universities, which makes it a very stimulating place to be. Here in Chile, we don't have the resources that are necessary in all the universities to be able to do research. Yeah, that's a big problem. So that when you get into an atmosphere where there's research going on and your teacher's a researcher, boy, you get really enthused with this production of new knowledge. The other thing is too that when you go to the States, you're surrounded by people that are not from the States. That is very funny. And it was that way when I went so many years ago. So that really and truly, now it's even more so. And what's the value of that? Well, you get to be with people that don't think the same as you, that have confronted different situations and have resolved different problems in different ways. So what does that do to you? Well, what it did to me at the beginning was to make me very uncomfortable because people are different from me, and that's not very easy to tolerate at times. But then you know what? You turn into a person who can work with other people easier and that have links with other people in different countries. You build a network, a worldwide network that can help you. Yeah, it's great. A last thing is here at the bottom of the screen, a possibility of doing an OPT. What on earth is that? An OPT is optional practical training. So that when you study, you can apply and stay on in the United States from 12 to 24 months in a practical experience work that is paid for and that gives you experience in the area that you are studying. Now, we all have had problems that when we finish our schooling, when we finish our education, we have to go look for a job and they ask for 5 years experience. Now, how do you get 5 years experience when you're just graduating? So that the OPT is very, very practical, is very, very good. Okay, let's continue. If we just take a look at the graph, we're going to see that there are a fair number of students, Chilean students in the United States. Unfortunately, the last year has reduced the number of students in the States because of political reasons and because of health reasons, okay? But there is, especially as you see here on the coast, California and New York. New York on the east, California on the west, okay? The big cities on the coast. And you're going to notice too here that about 50% of the students are in postgrad. Postgrad is education after your first degree, after your first studies in the university. Why? We'll see this just a little bit on, but it's mainly because of financial reasons and perhaps also maturity. You know, to go to another country, you have to be either a little very, very brave when you're young, you know, and when you're 17, you have to be very, very brave or foolhardy, or, but it does take courage. And so that when you're in a postgrad, when you finish your first university degree, you are far more mature. So that finance and maturity have to do with this business of going to study. Okay, Jimena. I don't know whether we're all familiar with the structure of the higher education in the States. I'm not going to take very long on this, but when you get out of high school, you have three options. Vocational technical, which is very similar to Chile. Then you have the junior or community colleges that have 2-year programs that are a pathway to the 4-year programs. Community colleges would take another lecture, but community colleges are much less expensive than undergraduate, than universities. And they also have pathways that makes it very easy to start in a community college and continue and finish in a university. Then you have the public and private universities, but everybody who studies in the States ends up with a bachelor's degree. You don't go into education in the United States and get a degree in engineering or a degree in nursing or a degree in psychology. You end up your 4 years of university with a bachelor's degree in arts, with a bachelor's degree in science, and a major in your area of interest. I'm a Bachelor of Science with a major in nursing. Okay? So it's a very different concept. The first 2 years, the first 2 year of undergraduate study are periods where you get a general education, and where, if you know where you're going as far as your major, you can, you know, have studies special for that area. But it's in 3rd year and 4th year that you focus on your major, which is in my case was nursing. Okay. Many students, when they finish their bachelor's degree, go on for another year for master's to get a specialization in that. Okay. This would take for quite a bit of time. You have questions, you can ask them, but I don't want to spend more time in this because I want to get on to how do you study in the States. Now, here I want to introduce you to a very interesting and important page. Any of you who are interested in pre-grad, post-grad, short-term, online programs, or English programs, this is a page that you should refer to. I don't know whether you can put it up a little bit more, Jimena, because the web page is down below. No? Yeah, there we are. There we are. Okay. educationusa.state.gov. It's a resource page. It's a platform that's very full of information. And it divides the study in the United States into 5 steps. I draw your attention to the process that takes from 12 to 18 months. This is very important to take into account. You can't, except for English studies, like if you want to go to an online, like a program for English, that doesn't take that long. But any serious university study will take a fair amount of time to prepare, okay? So you have to take that into account. If you're going to study Next year, we're too late now. No, unless it's an English program. And an English program, you can apply, you need about 3 or 4 months because you have to apply, you have to get accepted, and then you have to get the visa. Okay, so you can't think that going to the United States is I just jump on the plane and go. There's a lot of planning to do with it. Okay, now if we can just change to the next slide, please, Jimena. The first step is investigate your options. As in any project, if you want a certificate course, if you want post-grad, if you want a short-term program, you have to investigate. There's such a wide range of programs that are open in, well, they're really 4,900 accredited universities. I mean, where do you find the program? It's you know, it's just too vast. There's just too much. And what program is what I'm really looking for? Because you have to think, I'm here in Chile, I have to fit in here in Chile when I come back, or am I going to stay in the States? So you have to investigate. The master's in the United States is 1 to 3 years. The doctorate is up to 4 years. Okay, it's good to get in contact with teachers that are there. In every university that accepts international students, there's an international office, and they are very open to giving information. To you write them and they answer you. Participate in fairs, in talks, and you have to prepare, of course, for the exams that are necessary to apply. Okay. Next. Now, when you're looking at this vast number of programs, you need help. Where do I look? And there's a thing that is on this web page, Education USA state.gov, that is our search engines, where you put in your information, where you put in your interest, and you put in, you know, the area of the country, because the States is as wide as Chile is long. So, you know, you have to wonder, am I going to feel comfortable in very cold weather? How about universities that are not as expensive as the ones that are on the coast? Because the big cities, New York, Los Angeles, etc., California, are expensive. They're huge universities. But I can get accredited universities that are cheaper in a more suburban area. So you've got to look, you've got to think. And these search engines are on the web page, and you can use them to find the programs that would interest you. Okay, let's continue. Finance your studies. Pre-grad doesn't have any help, national help, except perhaps for arts. But here I'm talking to more an English language community, right? It doesn't have much help. And for pre-grad, you really have to use your resources and the scholarships that are available in the university. For post-grad, yes, we do have help with Fulbright and Becas Chile. Unfortunately, this year, all that has been closed. All the applicants to Fulbright, even if they were selected, are doing online programs because of the pandemic. Hopefully, hopefully next year and 2022 will be more normal. But if you want to, you need more help, there are millions of dollars in scholarships. But the millions of dollars are not hanging on the trees. You have to work to get them. You have to apply and make a very good application to be able to get the scholarships. But we have kids in opportunity programs that have had a full, what we call a full ride, everything paid in Harvard, in MIT, in Stanford, because they have made an excellent application. Okay. Now, if it's a master's, assistantships are working on campus with a professor that may be working in research or administration, and you get paid. You get your tuition discounted and you get a living stipend. Doctorates are paid to go and do their doctorate, but then your project has to be really good so that you interest the university, right? and work on campus, because international students can work on campus for up to 20 hours. But that's not going to cover all your costs. Tuition, application, housing, food, medical insurance, it's a lot. Okay. Okay, Jimena. What are generally required for university studies, like postgrad or short term? The application form. Uh, now, unfortunately or fortunately, the application process in the United States takes far more into account than your grades. You can be a mateito, you can be, a 6.5 student, 6.8 student, and so what? As far as the university, remember that when we think about the United States, you're competing with all the brilliant students in the United States and all the brilliant students from Asia, from India, from Africa, from Europe. So yeah, you've got to be more than just brilliant academically. And this brings me to this part, which is very important: essays. How you write, how you describe yourself, how you show yourself to the application committee. It's really important. You have to show who you are. And unfortunately here in Chile, it's difficult because we're not taught very well how to write, and we're not taught how to show our strengths. Often it's difficult to know what my strength is, and then to show it off is really difficult. So this takes writing, and we help in Education USA. We help with this writing process. We don't write it for you, no way. But we do help to read it and to edit it, and to help you get a good essay. Your resume, but your resume is just a list of who you are, where you were born, what you studied, and what you've done. It's not you personally showing yourself, as the essay is. Recommendation letters from people that you know, that know you. It's not the importance of the person. It isn't important if it's the rector of the university or if it's the mayor of the city. No, that's not important. What's important is that that person can say, I know Ruth because she was really bad at math, and she tried and she tried and she finally got a passing grade, and it's due to all her effort. That's a good recommendation, because it shows that Ruth was able to continue and persevere and get better. See, that's the type of recommendation letter. An interview academic transcripts. Sorry, I jumped here. The academic transcripts have to be legalized, and that's called apostillaje. Apostillaje is taking your grades to the Ministry of Education and having them signed and stamped and say that this is legal. You didn't make this up. This is legal. Okay, and then they have to be translated. Education USA also does this. Our translations are legal documents for the United States. So we do it on we have special heading for the papers, and we have stamps, and we sign, and those translations are legal, okay, for the United States. Some other thing is sometimes an interview, and with this pandemic, interviews have become very important in some universities. Yeah, because tests sometimes have been difficult to take, like the TOEFL have been difficult to take. So the interview shows the university just how fluent you are in the language, how much you manage yourself in the language. And then there's the application fee, because when you apply to a university, you have to pay for them to look at your papers, because they honestly look at your papers. There's a committee. Admission officers have, big mountains of these applications, and they look through them, and they discuss. This is yes, this is no, this is yes, this is maybe. And if it's a maybe, it goes to a commission, and the commission says yes, no, yes, no, yes, you're in. It's true. So that takes money, because that is, and it's not that much usually. It's 100. You don't get it back. It's paying for their service. Okay. Okay, Jimena. English exams. We'll go over this quick because I think most of you probably know about it. I don't know. It's either the TOEFL or the IELTS. Now there's another candidate that's rising on the horizon, and that's Duolingo. I didn't put it in here, but Duolingo se la lleva. It's really growing. Why? Because it's far shorter and it's far faster than TOEFL or IELTS. But it doesn't have the acceptance yet that these two have. Okay, it's far less expensive. This TOEFL is 240. That's about, let's see, what's the dollar? About 160 mil pesos, something like that. Whereas the Duolingo is 50,000 pesos. A TOEFL, you take about 3 weeks to get the results, and Duolingo, you have it within 48 hours. I mean, there's a big difference, okay? But these exams are absolutely necessary for any short-term study, for any post-grad or pre-grad. They're not necessary for English because you usually get a test when you get there, and you're placed in your. They may be necessary if you're applying to a TOEFL preparation course because you have to show that you have a certain level of English to be able to apply. Okay. Academic exams, GRE and GMAT, and this is something for postgrad. If you're applying for English, special education in English, etc., you're going to be asked to take the GRE. The GMAT, no, because that's for business. But the GRE, it's pretty important. It's like the PSU for postgrad exams, for postgrad programs. They try to get, it's a selection of how you think, reason, verbal reasoning and math reasoning, and it's kind of a filter for students that are wanting to go into graduate exams. It's not necessary for short-term certificate courses, and it's not necessary at all for English. Okay. Okay, Jimena. Okay, another option that I wondered if this would be interesting, but the truth of the matter is I think it's interesting for people who are studying English and English pedagogy students, because it's a wonderful opportunity to invest time in a country where the language is English, and to get specialized help. I don't think you can ever stop learning a language. I mean, I'm a native in English and Spanish. But every day I try to learn a new word in English. There's lots of help on internet. Okay, every day there's day of the word, and I sometimes have to guess because and in Spanish you can always learn more, and language always evolves. So that investing time in going to a program, whether it's the States or anywhere else, like English speaking country, is really wonderful, because you get the language in context, where it's used, where it's developing, where it's growing. Now here, this web page that's down below is the web page where you're going to find all kinds of programs, credited programs. The length you can have from 1 month to a year, a semester. There are all kinds of programs, but make sure that it's, well, in that platform, you're going to find accredited, because there are non-accredited, and you can get gato por liebre. You can pay for a lot and then get not very, very good. But accredited university is really good, because many universities have an institute where students who don't know English very well or don't have the level can go into the institute, better their language, and then pass on to the university. So it's an excellent place to learn and to better your language. You have to have a program that has at least 20 hours a week, because otherwise you don't get a visa to be able to study. And the immigration officer will look at you screw-eyed like this if you say you're going to study and you don't have a study visa. So you have to have a program that has a sufficient number of hours. Now, the work is done in class, out of class. There are universities that have a program where you can go to a university, go to class, English class in the morning, and go to a university class in the afternoon. not to study, but to participate in an English class and to gain vocabulary and to learn how to discuss topics with others. That's a wonderful experience. Yeah, right. There are also cultural activities associated so that you use your English in a normal, everyday environment, going to different places. The program can have a special focus or can be a general English. You have TOEFL preparation, English for lawyers, English for medical doctors, pronunciation, etc. Okay, there are all kinds of programs. You have to apply with time though. How am I doing in time?
We're a
Am I?
little bit behind, but it's been super interesting.
Yeah, but I don't want to, you know. Okay, let's continue. But you stop me when I have to stop. Okay. The next slide, please, Jimena. Now, what does this cost? Yeah, because this is very important, you know. This, I'm talking about English programs. I'm not talking about university. University programs, I don't want to even go into that because it's very expensive and you really can't study if you don't have scholarships and some savings. But English programs, yeah, in cost, you have to take into account the items that are here. Tuition, books. This is an average, 1,800. This is for a month-long program. 4 weeks, okay? Then you have board, which is not food but homestay in a campus, in an apartment, in residence, or in a family home, okay? And that is between 800 and 1,800. Food is not that expensive. No, it's not that expensive in the States. It's true. Yeah, in food nor clothes. It's not that expensive. You also have to have medical insurance. That's absolutely a must. Because if you get to go to emergency or you get to go to a hospital for any reason, you spend millions. It's very expensive. So you have to have medical insurance. And then you have to have money for your pocket money. So really, for a month of study, it's between 3,200 and 4,000, about $5,000 plus the airfare. That's about 3,500,000, 4,000,000. It's like taking a cruise ship, but for a month. You know, it's a lot of money, but it's an investment, okay? And that really, to think of less than 1 month, like 2 weeks, that's not enough. You get a taste, you get a smattering, but you don't really, you know, have a long enough period. Okay. Okay. Next one. Now there are exchange programs too. Exchange programs where you combine studying and working, studying and travel. Okay. And these do require, I'm not going to go into very many details here, but the web page that's here, the embassy page here, is a page where you have all the information. It requires also a different type of visa because you are not just studying, you're studying and working or studying and traveling, okay? Internships are possible where you have a sponsor, and a sponsor, which is on the page, the list of sponsors are on this embassy page. And may I say aside, I'm having to go through a lot of information very fast, but if anybody is interested in a specific topic, they can get in touch with me and we can have a one-to-one face, you know, Zoom meeting where we can go into detail with this, okay? It requires the OPT. OPT is the optional practical training, and this is for people who are studying in the United States, pre-grad, post-grad, short-term, okay? They have to apply while they are studying or up to 12 months after studying to be able to get the experience associated with their studies. Now, ordinary programs have 12 months for OPT, but STEM students, STEM is math, physics, all the sciences, can say up to 24 months in the States. That's 2 years, you know, after your studies. So that's really a good opportunity. Okay. The visa, I'm not going to say very much about this because you don't have to worry about the visa. What you have to worry about is getting accepted in the program that you're interested in. Once you're accepted in the program that you're interested and you have the financing, the visa comes like that. Okay? So that we can, the visa that is used for study is the F. The visa that is used for exchange programs is the J. Okay? But you really don't have to worry about the visa. What you have to worry about is getting the documents from the university that prove that you're accepted. Okay? Can we go on? What are our services? Education USA, the office here in La Serena. Translations, as I said. We have a library with specialized books that are lent free. You can take them out for periods of time. Test preparations for TOEIC, test preparations for TOEFL. We have material on IELTS. We have material on SAT, on ACT, and you can take them out, borrow them for free with renovation every 2 weeks. We have webinars. We have virtual university fairs. In September, it was virtual this year because we couldn't have a present face-to-face one in Santiago with about 100 university reps that are there and you can talk to them. Okay. And in October, it's for lawyers. Okay. Right. Okay. That's my contact information. I'm sorry. I think I did go over a fair bit. It was a lot to pack in. Here's my contact information and I'll be very, very pleased to talk with you. If you send me a mail, we can have, as I say, a one-to-one meeting on Zoom. No problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Miss Ruth, thanks to you. It was a great conversation. Remember, if you wanna send some questions, maybe because of the time, you'll have to contact Miss Ruth directly, but you can write them anyway, and if we have time, we'll read them. It was a great presentation. We are very happy to have you, Miss Ruth. Yes.
Thank you.
Miss Maria?
Here. Okay, I had problems with the microphone. Now I'm here. Thank you very much, Ruth. I have a question. I don't know if it is because I'm not student anymore, but I was thinking about if there is any age limit to apply.
No. But as you get older, your application has to show what you've done during those years. Yeah. Yeah, right. It's a tricky question to answer, but you know, it's different if a person applies when they're 35 or 40 to when if they're 65. If you're 65, you can apply. There are certificate courses and there's a program called IVPL, which is international visitors program. And many people that are 60 and over go on those programs. It's an exchange program, but they have the curriculum behind them to be interesting, to be accepted. I think that's how I can answer it. Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
You
I don't know
know,
if there are comments or questions that you could share your comments in the chatting room or ask her questions directly.
I'd actually like to share a comment with my classmates that I've visited the Institute's library and it's great. They have all the grammar books and linguistics book. So for example, in third year, you have linguistics and it's been a very fun subject to study. So if you would like to read some books, they're all there. And yeah, so go to the Institute's library. It's been very useful to me. If you wanna make a comment, please raise your hand through Zoom and we'll give you.
I have a question actually.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, Camila, go ahead and then we'll go with Mr. Elvis.
Yes, so one of the questions that was popping up my mind was, do scholarships include going with your husband or wife if you're married?
That's an interesting question, but yes, I mean, your husband or wife will not get the scholarship, but
Right.
but yeah, um, Becas Chile takes into account that and adds on to it a certain amount. Okay,
Not
Fulbright does
Fulbright.
too.
Ah,
No,
okay.
Fulbright doesn't. It's a very small amount. Okay,
Mhm.
but you get a visa so that in some cases, in many cases, your husband or wife will be able to work. Okay, and that's wonderful, or will be able to study. You know, that's great. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Elvis, would you like to say something?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank Ruth for all the information that she gave us. Thank you, Ruth.
Welcome.
Always nice to listening to you. And I want to emphasize just two ideas that she said at the beginning. I have had the experience of being in a couple of American universities, and one thing that caught my attention is the amount of international students in those places, right? Full of Asian students, probably the next students will tell us about that. So many Chinese, Japanese students, and that finding American students quite strange sometimes. That's one thing. And the other one is the size of the universities. They are enormously big. Sometimes you take a bus inside the university and you don't realize that after traveling 15, 20 minutes, you are still inside the university. Right?
I,
And there are stores, restaurants, football ground, so many nice things to look at that sometimes you don't want to study. You just want to have a nice ride by the campuses of the universities. Thank you very much for
I think
the
that's really
opportunity.
important. I think that's really
Yeah, it
important,
is.
Elvis, because it's not only studying, it's participating of university life that makes it such an interesting. Yeah. Mm.
It's true.
Miss Ruth, lastly, will it be okay for us to share your presentation with the students so they
Yeah,
can continue easier? Okay.
yeah, yeah, right.
So with these comments, we finish Miss Ruth's presentation. Thanks a lot for your valuable time, and you're cordially invited to stay with us for the rest of the event because later we'll have former students of the university and then we'll have our talent show. So thank you so much for coming.
Right. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I always enjoy talking about these adventures. You know, it's really great.
Thank you very much, Ruth, and I hope to have you as a guest with us again, maybe with small groups of students and to have the chance to have a kind of a conversation with more details. Okay.
Ah,
And
right, because it's so much information. But you know,
yeah, I
I'm
know.
welcome. My mail is open, and I'm always happy to answer any questions.
Oh,
Okay. Mm.
so nice. Thank you very much.